Okay. Hello again. So we have been talking about history. We've been talking about new historicism, new historicist criticism. But what is the advantage of it? What is its? How is it useful, and why is it useful if we necessarily find out the traces of history in a book in a historicist way, not in a historical way, but in a historicist way? Remember, the major difference between being historical and historicist is that in historical approach, we only find the historical dates, historical events in a book. If there are no historical dates and historical events in a book, then we do not do any historical reading. All right, unless the text talks about a certain revolution, a certain war, a certain historical date, unless it mentions those. However, in historicist reading, no, a simple love story may be very, very historical in an historicist approach. So advantages and disadvantages of new historicism. However, the appeal of new historicism is undoubtedly great for a variety of reasons. First of all, although it is founded upon post-structuralist thinking, it's written in a far more accessible way, for the most part, avoiding post-structuralism's characteristically dense style and vocabulary. So everything goes back and based on post-structuralism and deconstruction, as always. It presents its data and draws its conclusions, and if it is sometimes easy to challenge the way the data is interpreted, this is partly because the empirical foundation on which the interpretation rests is made openly available for scrutiny. Okay? Empirical foundation. All right? In empiricism, remember empiricism. There's an empirical foundation on which the interpretation rests is made openly available for scrutiny. So that empirical foundation, which is the new critical result in fiction, is made openly to the public, so we can question it from the historical perspective or the historicist perspective. These essays look and feel different from those produced by any other critical approach and immediately give the literary student the feeling that the new territory is being entered. Particularly the uncluttered, pared down feel of essays, which results from not citing previous discussions of the literary work, gives them a stark and dramatic air. So what new historicists do then? Let's consider that. What do? They juxtapose literary and non-literary texts, reading the former in the light of the latter. All right? Literary and non-literary texts. We read a literary text in the light of non-literary texts, because they are never independent from the non-fictional works and from the non-fictional world. They are never independent from the history. Therefore, by doing so, they try to defamiliarize the canonical literary text, detaching it from the accumulated weight of previous literary scholarship and seeing it as if new. They focus attention on issues of state power and how it is maintained, on patriarchal structures and their perpetuation, and on the process of colonization with its accompanying mindset. They make use of the aspects of the post-structuralist outlook, especially Derrida's notion that every facet of reality is textualized, and Foucault's idea of social structures as determined by dominant discursive practices. So all the patterns of social life is textualized for post-structuralists. And if everything around us is a text, those texts are the results of long historical background. Okay, the present situation in which we are living is a result of the historical background too. Okay, and I'm not going to the examples of new historicism, but cultural materialism is on page 182, but I would like to carry on with cultural materialism next week, but I will try to make it a little bit clear of the discussion of new historicism. In new historicism, the specific point is that even a simple love story, even a simple marriage story is historical reasons. And this is a historicist, new historicist movement, not a historical movement. Okay? Historical reading is dealing with only if the dates are given, only if the important dates are being talked about, important events are being talked about. If they are not, then we don't look for history in the text. However, we look for history even in the texts that do not seem to have any historical relationships. For example, look at Pride and Prejudice. Are there any history there? We don't see any historical events. However, from the new historicist perspective, there is history there because it is the result of the class system. It is the result of the historical background which created such an economic situation, such a social structure in the society, because there is army there, the soldiers there, and the merchant class there. You know, in this kind of approach, we always find the historical background in all kinds of texts written there. Okay, now, do you have any questions so far? No? Okay, then I would like to stop here because next week I'm going to carry on with cultural materialism and refer to new historicism again and again all the time. So have a good evening. Thank you for joining me. Nisa is writing. Thank you, Nisa. Okay. Then I hope to see you next week. Bye.